Hello and welcome to my second video of the beginner C++ programming tutorial. Last time we have learned about cout and how to use it to print stuff out on our display screen. Today I'm going to once again talk about cout, but I'm going to show you how it can be used for mathematical calculations. Okay, so we can use C++ as kind of a makeshift calculator, right? That's not one of its main uses, but we can nonetheless. And just to show you, so here's our cout, okay? And I showed you before how you can print stuff out here as a string, or you can print numbers directly. Well, here's the thing. C++ also understands not just numbers, but expressions with numbers, which means it can understand basic math. It can understand plus, minus, multiply, and divide, okay? Those are the things it can't understand. It can't do like powers and stuff. That you have to, well, it can, but you have to do a little bit more work to get that done, like square roots and powers and other stuff. But it can do plus, minus, multiply. Those are the things it understands. It understands plus, minus, multiply, divide, and parentheses. Okay, so let me show you how that works. So when you print something out using cout, you can actually write numbers here and then use the arithmetic signs, like a plus sign, okay, to add stuff together like this. So for example, I'm telling it to print out 45 plus 4. Well, what's going to happen is it's not going to print 45 plus 4. It's actually going to calculate 45 plus 4 and then print it. Okay, so that's what's going to happen. So if I run this, it's going to give me a 49. Let's see. Yep, there it is. It's giving me 49. All right, so and I can put an expression that's long. I don't have to just use the 1 plus. I can do minus some other number multiplied by some other number. By the way, the multiplication sign in C++ is just a star. Okay, a star is a multiplication sign, and then this forward slash is a division sign. All right, so works just like regular division with a certain exception that I will get back to later. But right now, just to show you, this thing does indeed do calculations, just like a calculator. Also, it understands the order of operations as well. So like this kind of stuff, let's see, 2 plus 2 times 2. Okay, so like this will actually print out 6. Okay, because the multiplication happens first. So it'll first look at this part, decide that it's 4, then 4 plus 2 equals 6, and then the result will be 6. Okay, so it actually is fairly smart in the sense that it does understand the mathematical order of operations. Okay, and it also understands parentheses. So if you wanted to change the order of operations and make it to add 2 plus 2 first, just like in regular math, you can put these round parentheses around 2 plus 2, and then it'll give you a result you're looking for. In this case, 8. Okay, there you go. And here's our 8. Okay, because 2 plus 2 is 4, and 4 times 2 is 8. Okay, so these expressions can be long. They don't have to be short like this, and they don't have to use whole numbers either. They can use fractional numbers, decimal fractions, like you can do 2.35 or 2.43 times 5.41. all right, just because I can. And I'm gonna run this and let's see what the result is. I have no idea what the result is off the top of my head, but here's the result: 13.1463. Right, so that's what we get. So as I said, that C++ does understand basic math, which means you could put expressions right here, mathematical expressions, that will be evaluated before they're written out to the screen, which also re-emphasizes another point. It emphasizes why you need the quotation marks when you're trying to write something exactly. For instance, what if I actually wanted to write 2.43 star by 5.41 for one reason or the other? Okay, I want to actually write that as a problem. For example, my program is supposed to print out mathematical problems for other people to solve, for students to solve. I don't want it to calculate it. I just want to write exactly what's written here. Then what I'll do is I'll put it in quotation marks, and then it'll know not to try and calculate it, but just print it out as it is. Okay, now a little let me make a little remark about the division, okay? Because division is a little bit special in C++, okay? The division, which is this slash character right here, something divided by something. Okay, there's two things I want to mention about division. First of all, you know, hopefully from the math course, that division by zero is undefined, okay? Or in case of programming, illegal, okay? So you cannot divide by zero ever. So be very careful about that. Don't divide anything if the, let's see, is it divisor? Yeah, it's divisor. If your divisor is zero, make sure you do not divide by zero. Okay, if I do this, that'll crash my program. I'll just show you what happens. Okay. Okay, nothing happened. Well, in this case, nothing. Okay, there you go. See, it crashed. It said stopped working and blah 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 blah. App crash. Okay, so basically the idea is you cannot divide by zero, so don't even try it. Okay. Second thing I wanted to talk about with division. Okay, division works in two different ways. Okay, either it's a whole number division or it's a fractional division. Let me explain. So like if I take 5 and I divide it by 2, okay, what do you think the answer will be? Well, somebody who doesn't know C++ or programming will probably tell you that the answer is supposed to be 2.5 or 2.5. But when I try to run this, you will see that the answer is, it's 2. It's just 2, okay? And you think, well, that doesn't make any sense, because even if you round the answer up, it'll be 3, not 2. So here you got 2, okay? The reason why that's happening is because when you use the division with two whole numbers, okay, like this is a whole number and this is a whole number, and you try to divide a whole number by a whole number, okay, the result has to be a whole number, okay? So what happens here is 5 divided by 2 actually produces 2.5, but because they were both whole numbers, C++ truncates the 2.5 and just gives you the 2. So it gives you two whole, basically this is like a first grade division. This is before you learn about remainders, okay? I don't actually remember what grade that is, but this is when you say how many 2's can you fit in a 5, okay? And the answer is 2, okay? And then the rest is the remainder, okay? That's what this slash means in this case. So when you use two whole numbers, you're gonna get back a whole number. So then the question is, well, what if I don't want the whole number, but I want to divide 5 by 2, and I want to be able to get a 2.5 as a result, okay? So my answer is, all you have to do is change one of those numbers to be a non-whole, visibly non-whole number, okay? And you're gonna say, well, how do I do that? Well, it's actually pretty easy. What you do is you just put .0 like this, okay, on at least one of them, or on both of them if you like. All right, so now it's 5.0 divided by 2.0. Okay, this technically is the same exact thing, but by putting a 0.0 at the end of these numbers, what I did is I let C++ know that actually I want this 5 to be treated as a decimal fraction, and I want this 2 to be treated as a decimal fraction. So now by dividing 5 and by 2, what you're gonna get is the actual decimal response, which is 2.5 right here, okay? Now, I didn't have to do both of them, only one would have been sufficient. As long as at least one of these guys is a fraction, even if it's 0.0, still a fraction. If one of these is a fraction, then the division works normally. If none is a fraction and they're both whole numbers, then the result you're gonna get back is whole. Okay, you might ask yourself why that is, but actually it does have a purpose. I want to promise you that. It does have a purpose. There's a bunch of times when you want to whole number divide to see how many of something will fit in something else. Okay? All right. So this is what I had to say about a division, which, by the way, brings me to another important point. This whole number division also has a complementary operator, which we do not use in math, or we do, but it means a totally different thing. We have something called a percentage operator, or a modulus, or a remainder operator. Okay, we have a way to figure out what the remainder of a whole number division would be. Okay, and that's this. That's the percentage sign. Now, you might think percentage sign is a sign that marks percentages. That has nothing to do with programming. Programming, in C++ at least, does not understand percentages, okay? So the percentage sign is actually a modulus operator that you put between two numbers like this, 5 mod 2, okay? And this is pronounced mod, by the way. So you say 5 mod 2, okay? And what this does, and I want to be clear about this because some people for some reason have a difficulty understanding what 5 mod 2 means. Okay, 5 mod 2 means this, literally. It means if we were to divide whole number 5 by whole number 2, what would be the remainder? Okay, remainder. This is like I said, first grade. Like this is the when you do like a long division and then you end up with the remainder. This is what this is like. So 5 mod 2, it'll actually print out a 1. And let me just run that so you can see that I'm not lying. Okay, so it prints out a 1. Now, the division never actually happened. This is like me saying, if I were to divide 5 by 2, what would be my remainder? That, of course, means that when you try to divide numbers that divide evenly, for instance, I'm going to divide, 10 by 5, like this. I say 10 mod 5. Then the result of this mod would be 0, okay, because 10 divides evenly by 5, so there is no remainder. The remainder is 0, okay? One last comment I would like to make is that this mod guy is a complementary operator to a whole number division, okay, and it can only work with whole numbers, okay. So mod only works with whole numbers, which is understandable because if you have fractions, then you really don't have a remainder. Nothing has a remainder. If you're going to use real numbers like 2.5. Then 10, you can divide any number by any number and you're just going to get back a fractional result. But assuming we only have whole numbers to work with, and this happens a lot in programming. Let's say you're dealing with people, right? You can't take half a person, you have to take a whole person. So, 10 divide, so you can divide and get the actual result. So that's it. That's basically all I had to say in this video, and we're going on 12 minutes now, so I'm going to go ahead and stop. That's what I had to say about arithmetic operators. See you next video.